Welcome back to the Royalty Soaps channel. My name is Katie Carson, and this is day number 10 of the 12 Days of Soapmas. Peppermint, my #1 bestseller every single year. I hate that the video is going up after the soap release, but if you didn't get any of it this month, we do have a few little bars for next month that we'll be putting up on January 8th, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. But there aren't going to be very many, so if you really want one, be sure to set your alarm. I did switch it up a little bit this time. I made like an entire batch of cold processed soap before I made the other cold processed soap, so I could have some really realistic looking little like candy bark pieces. You guys are gonna love it. It's gonna be great. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. Both of them. I have 2. And without further ado, let's make some soap. Peppermint Candy is definitely my most remade soap ever. I'm pretty sure that this is the 5th or 6th year I've done it. Like, the first year I started making soap, I made a peppermint candy soap. And something that happens whenever you remake a soap over and over and over again is you get bored. So I'm changing up the design today. But of course we have to start the same as always, which is putting the lye water solution into the oils. And once that's in, we begin to blend on high until just past emulsification. That being done, we're gonna section out the first little bit, and this is gonna be sort of the base color red. I'm trying to be a little more precise with this one, so I'm using a scale to measure out my batter. I'm going for 28 ounces of oil. Now that I have 28 ounces, I'll put my scale away and we're gonna add the first red color. We're gonna be using Queen Catherine from TKB Trading. This is gonna make it a very deep sort of burgundy wine red. Before Really Red Mica came out, this was the only red mica I knew that actually sort of looked like red. So let's blend that up before adding in the fragrance oil. I'm going to pour the proper amount of fragrance oil into this container. I've measured it out because my bottle was too big, but my go-to, per usual, every single year is Peppermint from Nature's Garden. It's gonna give you a nice, strong, true peppermint scent at like half the cost of all the other suppliers. The fragrance oil is in, so I'm gonna blend that up using the stick blender as well. Marvelous. Wipe down the sides here, and let's pour this layer into our 2 brambleberry molds. Here they are, so I'm going to pour in the red color. And by the way, with these new silicone liners that Brambleberry is now carrying, they're different than the original liners, but something I really like about them, besides the fact that they adhere to the sides, but something you should note if you make the switch, is that you will no longer get 17 1-inch bars using them. So instead of using these markers and putting your embed in between them, you now have to use the marker to put the embed on, like line the embed up with the marker. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with a really, really skinny bar and then a big fat one on the other side. That's just a quick notation for those of y'all who are trying to make the switch. You will lose a bar. All right, that's nice and flat. That red is really popping. I'm gonna move these off to the side and we're gonna mix up the next portion. For the next bit, we're gonna be mixing together the peppermint swirl. So in the container that we put the ruby red in, we're now going to put in the really red. And into the large container, we're putting in some titanium dioxide mixed with water. I get asked a lot why we mix it with water. It is simply because it disperses better in cold processed soap if you mix it up with that liquid first. This is one of the only soaps that I wipe the stick blender off between blending colors, because this red and that white will undoubtedly mix together and turn pink. I'm I'm gonna blend in this fragrance oil using my hand. When you use a stick blender, it accelerates trace a little bit. We wanted that for the bottom layer because it needs to be firm enough to hold up this second one. But the second layer, we want to be more liquidy so that the design looks prettier. I'm going to pour the red into the white now. The white is a bit thicker than the red, and honestly, I think the design ends up looking a little bit better when the base color is a bit thicker than your accent. It just pours differently, creates a rather different effect. So now that that's in, we're not mixing it at all. We're just gonna pour straight into our loaf molds. I'm gonna start on one end, use my spatula to ladle it in. You guys can probably see the difference in how runny the red is as opposed to the white. With about this much in, I have about this much left in my bucket. I'm gonna tap that on the ground and we're gonna add some embeds. In this container, I have some peppermint pieces made out of cold processed soap. I made this earlier in the week and they have completely dried out now, and I've covered them in Queen Catherine, so we're gonna put those across the top. They aren't going to displace very much soap. There's not that many of them, but there is enough so that every single bar should see at least a shard of a peppermint piece. Okay, I've pushed those little pieces in, as many as need to be pushed in, so let's finish by filling with the rest of our soap here. It's gotten pretty thick. By pretty thick, I mean very thick, and now I'm slightly concerned. Well, that was a small nightmare. Luckily, everything is in the mold now, and I know once you cut it, it's really, you're not gonna be able to tell I struggled. All right, let's mix up the soap frosting. My piping has set up now, so I'm gonna fill the piping bag. But before I do, I have mixed up some really red mica with some olive oil. I like olive oil because it's really, really runny. Sweet almond oil is good too. And I'm gonna take a little bit and run it down the sides of the piping bag. And now I'm gonna fill just like this. It's gonna make a really beautiful design. All the piping is in now, so this is what the bag looks like. And I'm just gonna start in the very corner, and wherever the red starts coming out first, I always try to place that towards the outside because that's where you can see it best and it looks the prettiest. But very soon after you start to pipe, you'll start seeing it come through in lots of different places, which is what we're hoping for, so that it looks good no matter where you place it. Now, if I remember correctly, and I may not because it has literally been years, I'm pretty sure I got the inspiration for this after looking at the Candyland board game and seeing the peppermint guy, like the peppermint forest guardian. Pretty sure that's where I came up with the idea for it. When did this happen? What, where? Oh my gosh, it's on my hand. This is why you wear gloves. How did I, what? I want an instant replay. How did that happen? Jeez. Okay, we're gonna touch that up because that's okay, that'll do. All right, piping is done and we stand. So the next bit that we're putting on is some Queen Catherine mixed with olive oil. We're gonna do a quick drizzle with this. I just don't want us to forget that the Queen Catherine is in the soap, so we're tying it together on top. Next portion we're putting on are some more of the chopped peppermint bits that I made out of cold process. It was a 10-layer commitment, you guys. 10 layers. I had 10 different plastic cups that I used. I mixed them all up. I added fragrance oil to each and every one of them, and I poured them on top of each other over and over and over again. It took at least an hour and a half. I think it might have taken 2. So I'm just placing these on all the bars. A lot of these are gonna end up being cut with the cutter, and I think that's gonna actually look really good. I also cut up each individual soap bar into multiple pieces. So I cut the bar once, and then I went in again, lined them all back up, and then I cut that bar. jar. That way the peppermint slices were easier to do. Kind of just gave me better control of where I was cutting them. It's supposed to look very like, oh, you know, I just chopped up a bunch of peppermints, it's whatever, but it was actually kind of a strategic move. This is one of the cool things you get when you buy, you know, small batch handmade products like this, is that somebody put a lot of time in it. And technically, I mean, Royalty Soaps is still very much small batch. We don't create any batches that are bigger than 64 bars. Equivalent would be to make 2 more of these. So to have 4 of them lined up, and I've actually made some videos doing that, but that's the biggest batch we make here. And honestly, it's just because I refuse to make my soaps any simpler. Like, one of the reasons why I know you guys watch and why I know you guys purchase these is because you like that they're different. You like that they aren't simple and that they look like you could have made 300 or 400 of them at a time. It's not like that. They're very much an artistic piece, if you will. They're very time intensive. All of the tops are decorated. You don't cut a whole bunch of them with like a big slab cutter that can just, you know, whack up a whole block. Like, we don't make them in blocks, we make them in loaves. And we're cutting them all with our little multi-bar cutters, like all of them. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing it the other way. I'm just saying I know that when people hear the word handmade and small batch, that they think of something, you know, little, something, you know, below 100 bars probably, and something that doesn't utilize a lot of machinery and tools and stuff. They want something that somebody with their hands has actually put together. I love that about buying handmade. I personally like to buy handmade for Christmas as often as possible. Etsy is my go-to place. Etsy is magical. I loved when I got to be a part of their little marketplace and world, especially around Christmas time. It honestly felt really magical to be with so many other handcrafters who are making just cool stuff. And of course, I just love supporting other creators as well. Okay, all the peppermint shards are in, so now it's time to put the painted peppermint pieces on. These are made using a mold from Wholesale Supplies Plus. It's a column mold, and then you paint them with red mica mixed with vodka. And then I'm just gonna place them right on top where my markers are. These are also all hand cut, hand painted. It takes so much time, but I just feel like the results truly worth it. When Royalty Soap started growing this year, and of course I'm very reflective right now because of just this year's been nuts. Like, we went from having a full shop to completely selling out in a matter of minutes to trying to up production to keep up with it, and then getting our own house and getting a shop to go with it. Like, it was crazy. And that being said, when it was time to sort of scale production and we were trying to figure out how we were gonna do that and what equipment we should utilize and how we should scale up with our molds and stuff, I had to make a decision. Like, am I gonna stay making the same types of soap, or am I gonna kind of make what I felt was a creative sacrifice and do something a little bit more mainstream, something a little easier? And I decided not to. I was like, you know what? We're moving forward, making the same types of stuff we always have, and I am so happy with that decision. I do not regret it at all. And honestly, it is a marvelous privilege to get to make videos for you guys, to get to make soap for you guys. I feel I am the happiest girl in the world to get to serve y'all in this way. I feel like I have yacked on for like 45 minutes. So I'm gonna wrap it up now by using some large hollow biodegradable glitter. This is from Brambleberry. It is absolutely beautiful. It is much larger in like the hex size than other biodegradable glitters, and I like that because you can see the rainbows a lot better. So I'm gonna put quite a bit of that on there just to add a little Christmas sparkle, little Christmas winter magic on it. Whew, okay. Gonna spritz that with rubbing alcohol. I was almost about to say like, and that's it, we're done, but by like, that's it, I mean, oh, you know, that's it. It only took me 2 hours. We're done. This is what the soap looks like up close. It is detailed. It is colorful. I am loving the shards of peppermint. I think that that adds so much texture to the top. You can see that glitter is very noticeable, very poppin'. All of the little peppermints on top look so realistic. And then the piping is just scrumptious. I just love these bars. These are just some of my favorites. So I will be back in 18 to 24 hours and we're gonna chop up the soaps and take a look at the new updated inside. We are back to cut the peppermint candy soap. Oh, it looks just as good today as it did yesterday, and I am shooketh. I have it still in the brambleberry liner, so I thought I'd show you all the unmolding. Ooh, so satisfying. Well, part of the unmolding. I had to hold it at an awkward angle. Okay, so let's turn this beautiful thing on its side. Look at those swirls. Wow. I'm so happy I decided to go with my gut and go vintage for the design. Okay, methinks I have lined everything up correctly. So I'm gonna press down. Oh, I love seeing the lines get created. Take off them little bits. Let's take one out of the middle. Oh my gosh. Look at it, it's so cute. So we've got that dark ruby red color on the bottom and then the red swirls. In this bar you only see one of the little peppermint pieces with the ruby red mica around it that got cut. Then there's this faint, very, very faint little red line in between the piping from where we did the red and oil mica drizzle. And then of course on the top we have the peppermint. We have the little peppermint candy chopped bits, the red mica line, and a whole bunch of hollow glitter. I cannot even. Ugh, I just love it. And the smell, pure peppermint. It stays very strong, stays very true in cold process. I'm digging this marbled look though. This looks like a candy version of what you might see in a fancy person's countertop. Okay, so the question of the day is, when you were a child, did you think of peppermints as desserts or just like breath mints? Because whenever I got to pick out a candy from the candy bag, that's most often what we got to choose as our dessert when I was a kid, was like one candy from the candy bag. No one wanted to see a peppermint in there. That's like not a candy that you pick to eat. That was something my pawpaw, which is my dad's dad, always had around. He had peppermints everywhere and he sucked on them all the time. But I just thought that they were like, they weren't candies. They were just like breath mints. But surely there's someone out there who's like, no girl, peppermint is my jam and I want to find you. Who are you people? So to vote on the question of the day, simply click the eye in the upper right hand corner of the screen. Ugh, it's so good I could eat it. Okay, also I see a creepy face. Does anyone see the creepy face with like this being the eye and this being the eye and then there's like a weird smile in the middle? What has been seen cannot be unseen. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. We are quickly creeping upon Christmas Eve. Who's excited for Christmas Eve? Me. I am excited for Christmas Eve. Oh, I can't wait. I'm so close to having my break. I had like no vacation time this year. I mean like none. So for me to get a whole 6 days off is like, anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry, I'm such a rambly person. I've got to be more concise. Having a script would probably help, but that's just really not my style. Be sure you do something fun for yourself today, whether that is catching up on all the advent calendars you actually haven't done because it's harder to remember than you thought it was, or making some baked goodies in preparation for the big day. Either way, do something that makes you happy, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Christmas Eve version of the 12 Days of Soapmas. Bye for now. Meow.